Hello everyone, in this video we're going to delve a bit into Cartier fragrances just because I have so many samples. We're going to start doing that by looking a bit into the Oud collection, which is fairly new I think, and we're going to talk about Oud&Santal, then Oud&Oud, and I also have these two samples sent to me by my friend Sebastian Furtado, and we have Oud&Menthe and Oud&Musc. Now let's start with Oud&Menthe just because I'm most curious about that one. I haven't been able to find all of them on the Cartier website, and it's also very strange because they don't give you a lot of information there, which is a shame. The only thing I saw there was the price point, and let me tell you, for 75 milliliters they sell for about $350, which I think translates to roughly 320 euros maybe, which is quite a lot. The collection is called something like Les Heures Voyageuses, you know, the traveling hours, which is building upon their other collection of the hours from Cartier. Alright, this is an interesting mint fragrance, which is, you know, to be expected, but it's quite lovely. There's a dark side to this mint, but never, I don't think it sacrifices the vegetal aspect of the mint quite at all. I feel like there's an underlying amber, or at least a resin, which kind of makes it, you know, darker and spicier. I would classify this as a spicy mint type of scent, all the while it's, you know, quite fresh. I think it's one of those delicate mints. It's not, you know, toothpastey at all, and it's almost like a floral mint. I don't detect the oud necessarily, which is very good. I feel like the oud is there, but it doesn't overpower anything. I think I like this one. I think it was a good choice that I started with this one. I think it's a good start. The mint is very tonic. It's a very cooling effect. It has this cooling on the whole, you know, experience. It's like a very cool wind. It's a rather windy fragrance, this one. Now let's look on the notes for this and see what we can learn. Alright, so the notes are quite simple. It's oud, mint, and amber, which I think is very appropriate. Then again, I'm reminded to some degree of the oud they used in Oud Yuzu or Yuzu Oud in the Aqua Allegoria from Guerlain, which is to say the same type of almost transparent oud, which does nothing to take away from the fragrance itself. It just builds on it and gives it a bit of heft and maybe a bit of a bite. Now let's move on to another one, and I should say Oud&Musc will be the next one. Oud&Musc. Let's look at this. Oh, this is very, very sweet and delicate. Oh, it's lovely. It's quite jammy for my taste. There's a bit of Now, what I'm smelling smells like violet, but it's also quite rosy. So I'm a bit conflicted. It's something right between rose and violets, but it's very nice. And there's the underlying oud which is skanky, definitely skankier than the Oud in Oud&Menthe, which is not skanky at all. It's clean, this one. It's clean and lovely and fresh, I guess, as it should be. But here, everything is just skankier. I think it's not the Oud, but the musk itself, which is a bit, it's dirty, it's interesting. It's a bit like unwashed hair, which is quite interesting. It's furry, but then again, it's powdery and cool. It's again this sort of cool inducing scent. It's not warm, it's not ambery. It's just cold and powdery and animalic. And quite sexy again, this one. There's something about Oud and combinations with Oud that I find, terribly sexy. I know I said I'm not a huge fan of Oud, simply because I'm not, experienced enough to call myself a fan of Oud. I haven't experienced Oud. I haven't even smelled the raw material because it's so difficult to find. All I have smelled is in, fragrances, which is not to say it's a very reliable source, unfortunately, because that's never or almost never real Oud. Now on the website they cite natural oud resin, whatever that means. I mean, there's a bit of natural oud resin even going into compositions from Givaudan or Firmenich or whatever. So we don't know what that means, natural oud resin. But this one is quite lovely. It's still a bit too jammy for my taste. But apart from that, it's definitely something I would love to explore further. I wasn't expecting to like Oud&Musc that much. And that musk is a type of floral musk. So apart from definitely what I call a violet in there, apart from that, there's definitely a bit of a floral facet, which I always associated with magnolia for some reason. Whenever there's musk in certain fragrances, it always makes me think of magnolia, which is so lovely. It's delicate and fresh. It's like, it's springy and pristine. I love this one. Now, the notes for this, let me see. They cite just musk and oud. I should stop looking on the notes because it's, it's quite obvious. But it's definitely the addition of a violet or a violet rose in very, very small amounts. Because there's also a bit of a leathery, aspect, or a bit of a suede facet, which is nice. Now let's move on to, let's see what we have left. Oud&Santal, and I'm going to leave Oud&Oud for last. Oh, that's lovely. It's very fruity, this one. It's very, very fruity, and the opening, first few seconds, they remind me of Santal Royal and Santal Majuscule. It's that dark, creamy sandalwood, which is so lovely. But this one, it has its own trajectory, it would seem, and it's even darker and more velvety, and that decisive oud bite, is definitely there, and it's very, very interesting. And I'm so mesmerized by that fruity note. It's like summer wine that's so deep and you know, it's almost a deep red, almost purple color to this scent. This fragrance is almost a gourmand because there's something in this that makes me want to, well, not drink it, but you know, it reminds me of a very fruity drink, which I don't know what that is. It's something winey, something alcoholic, but it's very sweet, like a fruit, freshly squeezed fruit something. Very undefined, but very lovely. And the sandalwood is just so a bit acrid, but definitely fresh and tropical. It reminds me of those fruity top notes that you get in 70s or late 70s, early 80s fragrances like Poison and Chemade and Amazon. Could it be blackcurrant? It's something tart like a berry or wine. It's so beautiful. This has to be my favorite of everything I smelled until now. And the oud is definitely here, but you don't sense it. Oh my god, I think I like what Mathilde Laurent made with this collection. I think it's quite lovely, you know, because we do have another recently launched oud collection at Guerlain, and the only fragrance I truly loved in there was Oud Coal, because the other ones I felt were so derivative and uninspired. What were the other ones called? Oud&Oud and Oud Rose, I think. Oh my goodness, I can't remember. But they were so bland and uninteresting. This one, I think, is very valid. However, there's always a bit of rose, right? Whenever there's oud, there's always a bit of rose. And I think it's quite similar in trajectory to Oud&Musc. Yes, where it's just a bit powdery and musky. But so far, this is the most three-dimensional fragrance I've ever smelled from this collection. It's so well done. It has a depth to it. It has facets. It's so good. Oh yes, the sandalwood is, again, it's grainy. It's creamy, grainy sort of sandalwood. It reminds me of something baked. And of course it reminds me of Serge Lutens' Santal majuscule and Jeu de Peau. I always bring up Jeu de Peau whenever there's grainy sandalwood. When I say grainy, I mean like cereal sandalwood, like wheat, you know. There's a sort of toasty bread aspect to this, which is so interesting. I love the fact that the oud is only in a supporting role, and I think this is where oud shines, you know. We'll see in the last one, which is called Oud&Oud. I kind of like this. I think the name is stupid because it's, you know, Oud&Oud. What does that mean? But I should say it's probably 2 layers of oud. We'll see, because in all of these fragrances you can definitely tell there's 2 layers. There's the oud layer, and then there's the something plus. There's something more. There was the mint, there was the musk and the violets, and now there's this sandalwood. But at the end of the day, they are very, you know, they're very well blended. You cannot pull them apart, not really. The way this oud is done here, I think it's quite similar to the fragrance I just spoke about in the last video, which is Miroir de Volupté. Oh, there it is. This one is so gorgeous. Oh my goodness, bring this back. In the sense that you can definitely tell that the oud is a bit animalic, it's a bit barnyardy. It's definitely skanky oud, which becomes a lot skankier by the passage of time. And I'm very curious how these fragrances are on the skin, especially Oud&Musc, because this is where they might shine. Unfortunately, I don't have as many hands to do this on the skin. So let's move on to Oud&Oud. Should I look on the notes for this one as well to see oud twice? I should look. I'm so curious. Did they actually put oud twice? Oh my goodness. This one is fruity as well. Very, very fruity. Huh. It's quite similar. Again, I thought that tart wine, rosy sort of, because this one is more into plum territory, I think. This is a skanky plum. It's very, very dark. I thought that plum aspect, or, you know, not necessarily plum, that tart blackcurrant something wine-ish might have come from the sandalwood, but there's supposedly no sandalwood here in Oud&Oud. God, I have to search for the notes. So I suppose it's from the oud, not the sandalwood. Now let's see. The notes are oud. Serves me right. This is very, very interesting. I think, well, as expected, this is the skankiest of the most. It's definitely the most barnyardy of the lot, which is definitely to my liking. I think it's the most interesting one here. It is definitely fecal and pissy, and it's definitely interesting. There's something so elegant about this fragrance. Definitely something to my liking. And again, oh right, okay, so there's a dry vegetal aspect, almost like a tobacco scent that reminds me of Chergui. This is a lovely fragrance, this one. It reminds me both of Chergui and Ambre Sultan. And to my knowledge, there's no oud in both Chergui or Ambre Sultan, but they're both amber scents. And this one definitely is an amber scent, only constructed around oud. It's just a little bit smoky. Oh my goodness, this is lush. It's so complex. I like this collection quite a lot. I'll go through all of them by the end. But this is so beautiful. This one is sort of like the same type of oud in Miroir de Volupté. You can tell it's, yes, only here it's nowhere near as three-dimensional as this one is here. The oud here, as barnyardy as it is and as multifaceted as it is, it doesn't quite compare. This one is like a kaleidoscope. When I'm smelling this, it's like so many facets are interchanging at the same time, like every second, with every turn. It's like tunnel vision, right? It almost makes me dizzy, but not in a bad way. Makes me swoon. That's the that's the idea. As much as I liked Oud Col from Guerlain, which is this darker than dark, they say, I think this one is more interesting. And I wasn't expecting to like this one the most, but definitely it's this one. So I can sense aspects from Interlude Man in this, which of course I do, because it's that type of amber. But compared to Interlude Man, this is so airy. Whereas Interlude Man is claustrophobically intense, this one's just breezy, it's airy, it's strong, but it's not overpowering at all. It's lovely to smell, this one. So if I were to get any of them, I think this one would definitely be my favorite until now. I think it's the most interesting of the bunch. Now, it being oud, of course it's going to be similar with other oud scents. I don't think it's groundbreaking in any regard. However, the fact that it's still light and breezy, I think that's a very good quality to have in an oud scent. Now let's look at them one more time. So the first one was Oud&Menthe, which is interesting now. It's like the mint withered and turned into minty hay, which is very dry, still quite fresh, but it's definitely more on the oud side. Well, compared to Oud&Oud, this one I can barely detect, but it's still there. However, I think it's a very good and interesting scent. I didn't find this one anymore on the official website. Maybe they pulled it from the market, I don't know. So soon though. This would be sad. Now, Oud&Musc. Oh, this one is skanky. Okay, this I have to say, this one is by far the skankiest of the lot. This is the most animalic because of that musk, right? And the musk, definitely, you can smell the deer, right? You can smell everything from the deer, the fur, where it's been, where it's where it lives, where it sleeps. You can almost smell the color of the deer. Very lovely. It's died down on the powderiness and on the violet, but it's definitely still leathery and vegetal, which is new. Beautiful. And Oud&Santal, which became, Oud&Santal became ambery, vanillic, sweet, almost chocolatey like. So imagine taking Santal majuscule, because that's the best example I have, because it's so close to me in memory. Taking Santal majuscule, which is creamy, chocolatey, sandalwood patchouli, and add a bit of oud to that. I don't think there's any rose in this. There's a lot more rose in Santal majuscule than in this one. It's very, very interesting. The sandalwood is, again, it's grainy, it's wheaty, but at the same time it's tropical and fresh. It's a very good sandalwood. And Oud&Oud, which definitely my favorite. This is so aldehydic. It's like, it's almost like a chypre type of smell. It's like, it has these metallic facets, mineral facets to it. It's so multi-dimensional. I love this one. It's definitely my favorite of the bunch, and it's so shiny. It's like, it's metallic and it reflects the light. It's like silvery and gold facets to it. Beautiful scent. Beautiful scent. I hope this one is still available. I'm sure it is. But bravo, Mathilde Laurent. This is a gorgeous scent and a gorgeous collection. So yeah, that was it. These were my impressions on the Oud collection from Cartier, done by Mathilde Laurent. If you have any other questions, do let me know in the comments. And until next time, remember, fragrance creates memories, and may yours be happy.